anybody on this board that goes down to Madison to settle these kind of issues? Because I know Teresa used to.
I haven't had to yet.
That's all right.
Does anybody need a pencil?
Pencil? Does it have to be pencil or can it be
No, I
pen?
just brought a box
A
of
writing
all
utensil.
You can,
Okay, there you go.
can scrawl in blood if you may.
pencils. No, that's
Prefer
fine.
not, 'cause
I'd
then we have
rather not
bloodborne
have any
pathogens.
blood.
We have rules.
All right,
You don't get to vote.
thank you.
I should have asked for everybody's license, right?
Should do something. All right. Okay, it is 6:15 on Monday, February 14th. I would like to call to order a special meeting of the Wausau Board of Education. First of all, I'd just like to introduce myself, Pat McKee, President of the Wausau School Board. I'm going to ask my fellow board members to introduce themselves to you as well, and then we'll move on to you.
Cody Nicolai, board member.
Lance Trollope.
John Creasure?
Karen Vandenberg.
Jim Boucher?
Lee Webster.
Carlo. Jane Roosh.
I think you guys want to sit up here at the table so we can hear you when we're going on. And I just want to preface this with, this is going to seem very formal and very almost courtroom-ish like. Please don't read anything into that. We don't do these very often, and there's just some specific items that we have to go through. So I'll make sure that I cover those, but we just want to understand what's going on so we can make an appropriate decision. So I'm going to apologize for the formality up front.
I understand.
Okay. The school board shall consider, well, actually, before we start, if each of you would introduce yourself, please.
I'm Abby Banky,
And Ryan Banky.
And your address, please?
235-629 North 128th Avenue, Wausau.
All right, thank you. The school board shall consider and weigh the following factors: the testimony of and written statements filed by the residents of the affected school districts, the estimated fiscal effect of the proposed reorganization, whether the proposed reorganization will make any part of the school district's territory non-contiguous. On to the petition to alter school district boundaries. So the petition, Ms. Banky, was received, you delivered it on January 17th, 2022. Before taking testimony, I would like to review the rule applicable to this hearing. This is an informal hearing, but we will record all the information presented. Each person offering information will come to the table where you may either sit or stand. Please state your name, address, and school district. Speak distinctly so that we can be sure that your information is recorded. The procedure is to hear from the proponents and opponents of the petition. The proponents, those people asking for school board to transfer the territory, will be heard first. Following the proponents, the opponents of the petition, those who do not want the territory transferred, will be heard. Following the initial presentation by the proponents and opponents, there will be a short time allotted for rebuttal and/or summation of both sides in the same order as before. Okay. So with that, I would turn it over to you so you can explain to us what you're asking for and why.
We are asking for our land to be changed from the Wausau School District to the Marathon School District. My husband bought the home in 2013. It was previously owned by a gentleman who bought it years before. And as I understood it, as I understood it in 1950s, when you buy your house or something else, he had two houses on about 100 or 200 acres in that area. He bought that whole thing, and back then, he could choose Marathon or Wausau. It wasn't already distinctly, so he chose Wausau. Our road is about 1 mile long. It's North 128th, between Woodland and Evergreen, and every house on that road besides that property is Marathon School District. My husband bought the house in 2013 with 5 acres parcel of that about 200 acre land. So Rich sold him the house on the 5 acres, and then the other house was there for another property owner to buy. All the Wausau School District. So our house is the only one on Marathon Road with Wausau School District. Marathon school bus comes past. Our neighbors' kids get on the bus, go to school, get dropped off. And that includes across the road as well. Our daycare, he works 25 miles west in Milan. I work 25 miles east in Weston for our jobs. We have our daycare right in Marathon City, on the hill, in-home, state certified. Marathon school bus drops off, picks up, she gets the kids, brush teeth, breakfast in the morning, does it for us. Now, my husband starts his job at 5 a.m. till 5 p.m. My job is a normal 7 to like 3, but it's also unknown if I have to stay late at night. Sometimes in our daycare, it's hard to find these days, if any parents know. When you've got that luxury of knowing that your kids can go there, and the sitter or our daycare provider's like, you know what, you're held late, I understand, come pick them up at 8 o'clock or something like that, it's huge to a parent. So that's a big weighing decision too. And we did grow up Marathon School District, but I'll tell you as a parent, the convenience and having everything set up perfectly for daycare, our travel time, everything else with my unknown schedule really helps also. So we really wanted to keep them in Marathon. And we did not want to, we have a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. So yeah, we're doing this a little early, but at the same time, we want to plan ahead for whatever may come with the decision, or open enrollment we can't rely on. We were told prior that there were 6 openings for open enrollment last year. Monday, right away, 6 were filled up on the first day. So we don't want to rely on that either. We want to stay where we're at.
Okay.
Anything to add?
Okay. Thank you. All right, and with that, the district, the Wausau School District, I assume has a position on where we stand relative to the request.
Yeah, do you want me to speak to it? Oh, sorry. Want me to speak to it, Bob, or did you? Again, sure. All right, so attached, Cassie, would you mind pulling up the fiscal impact memo?
You need to state your name and address.
Thank you. Keith Hill, Superintendent, Wausau School District. So referring to this, so Mr. Test did some work to, obviously we get taxes, based on the property value of all the property within our district. You can see currently, there's an estimated value, our mill rate, and currently the taxes that come to the district are a little over $2,000. If the property detaches, obviously that income then goes to Marathon. Could you scroll down a little bit, just so we know the area we're talking, and keep going down to the map? So just right there for a second. So just looking at the map, that pin there, that is a large level view, a high level view of the property in question. You can go down to the next, it'll keep zooming in. Here's a closer look. I wonder, Ms. Benke, could you say the houses, to the south of you?
To the north of us would be Wausau also.
Yes.
The south of us would be.
Marathon.
One house to the north on
Gotcha.
that property.
Okay. So looking at the map, just so we all have a picture of what it is you're trying to describe to us. So you kind of get the picture there, and then down one more, Cassie, and then this is the actual property that in question. And again, for the board's information, obviously $2,000 is a very small amount. Know too that just talking from a financial impact, children, if they're in our district and either stay or open enroll, that is revenue, again, that we are forfeiting if we support the request for petition. Am I missing anything, Bob?
No.
Okay.
All accurate.
All right.
If you have any questions for me, I can answer anything relative to the written comments I made, I submitted. Board's open.
Right.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Benke, do you have any additional information that you would like to share?
Just so I understand it right, you're saying that you would lose $2,000 per child, right?
Currently, that's $2,000 just your property taxes, that are the school
Yep.
portion, right, so that's it for now.
Okay.
Once your children are school aged, and I hate to talk about this as money, but this is part of it, right? Obviously, you know, our revenue is determined by, in large part by pupil count. And so if you are in our district and you open enrolled to Marathon, for instance, we still get funding for that. If your property is in the Marathon, we get zero income from that. So for us, there's a financial interest.
And there's a long term. I mean, this is forever.
This is permanent, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Hiltz, anything else that you would like to share?
The only thing I might add is that top part is considering the entire district as a whole and the distribution of those taxes. That does not reflect the Banky's property tax bill. That district portion is probably closer to 1,800 or 1,700. So 1,231 is if their property left the district, we would have to redistribute to everybody else approximately 2,100. There are a lot of municipalities included. It's not just Tunistine, City of Wausau, Town of Red Mountain, etc. Below, of course, if we lose open enrollment transfer amount, we'd also lose revenue limit authority. And then the net is the last box, which, as long as the students will be in school, $2,600 a year. Again, I don't want to make this financial either, but that's part of the requirement. I have to put together a financial statement. So it's one of
Well, and
considerations.
I think we can't, this is hard, but we can't get away from the fact that we represent all of the taxpayers. And so they all have an interest in the finances of this. And so we can't not talk about the money because as much as I would like to help you because your story, I mean, what you said makes a lot of sense, I also have to think about all the district taxpayers over the whole district. It would be, I only remember doing this one other time. And I thought at that time, and I'm thinking of it again, is I wish there was a way, and maybe there is, that when the request was made that there was some sort of work districts ahead of time to say, we have this property that's over by South Mountain that you could attach to Wausau, and then we'll take this part into Marathon, and that way both districts are kind of even and we can make everybody happy and there isn't a long-term loss to it. Because without that, as sympathetic as I am to what you said, I have to think about how this essentially takes funds away from Wausau School District taxpayers forever. Like, I don't know how to get around that.
Got a question about open enrollment. When you open enroll your children, it would be then that year, but if you want to continue that open enrollment, doesn't the district that you're open enrolling your students to have to accept those children because they've already been in that school district?
Yes.
Because that would be what I would be concerned about. How do you open enroll and then being bumped out the next year? That would be totally unfair. And so I'm just reflecting back on the times that I've had to deal with that. That would be grandfathered in. Say if you open enroll your children first and second grade, well, Marathon's not going to be able to say, sorry, we're booked now, you can't bring your child here anymore. They would have the right to say, no, I've already been here.
As parents, yes.
As parents,
Yes.
and then Marathon would have to continue to respect you as parents and accept their children.
They're worried about not getting in that first year, though. right?
And both children also.
Right.
Both children.
And I think there is some language pertaining to if there's an older child in the district open enrollment, that the next child would have the right.
Yes, yes.
Tough.
Okay. Are there any other questions or information that any board member would like answered or clarified?
One question I have is, if you choose to open enroll, do you get busing through that district or no?
If we open enroll, our daycare is right in Marathon City, and we just drop them up at daycare, and our Marathon school bus picks up there and drops off there.
Got it. So then you would be able to use that address, which would allow for busing
Yes,
for your.
the kids at daycare that are older than our kids every morning go there, eat breakfast, brush their teeth, and get on the bus.
Okay.
So it's not a busing issue, it's a worry of not having space kindergarten year, to get
And
in
it's
that
a, and
first
it's a
time.
busing. I mean, he goes to work, he's gotta leave by 4:15. It's a 5 to 5. I go to work, I've gotta be there at 7 AM. I'm law enforcement, so I don't know if I'll get home when I should at 4 o'clock, or if I'll get home at 8 o'clock. So that's where our daycare is huge, she's very open. If they had to spend the night, she'd take them for the night. But, and you can't find daycare now, so, and the bus drops off, picks up there, and it works for our hours.
Okay. So Bob, remind us again on the open enrollment. If they were to open enroll, fast forward a number of years, both children are in the Marathon School District. When does the money begin to follow the children?
I think the best thing to look at is two charts. And that's for one student, so if you had two students, you'd have to double that amount.
Okay.
But on the left, that's open enrollment tuition that our district would pay Marathon. And it starts immediately, there's no 3-year rolling average or anything like that. I've got it indexed 2% each year, so it's $8,100 this year, then 83, then, all right? And that's money we would have to pay the Marathon School District, correct? We would always get revenue limit for those students if they're in our district. We get revenue limit for our own students, we get revenue limit for all the open enrollment students, we get revenue limit for all of them because they live in our district. If we would detach to Marathon, we would start to lose that revenue limit. It'd be a third of it the first year, then 2/3, then 3/3 because of the rolling 3-year average. So if I subtract the two, the impact is on the right. So we would lose some expense. We would lose open enrollment expense that we wouldn't have to pay Marathon. But we would also lose revenue limit capacity, right? And that's where the net comes in. Does that make sense?
Because the revenue limit is greater than the transfer.
Eventually. You see the first year, it's a fiscal impact and positive for the Wausau School District because they don't have students, so it's really all theoretical anyway. We're talking about eventually when they have students, takes a third and another third. By the third year, you can see we're behind $2,500.
And Bob, you deal with busing all the time. Now, Marathon would not have to bus open enrolled students if they didn't want to.
They would not have to. At your daycare, they could say, we don't bus you because you're open enroll students, but it's an easy pickup. They're all in the same location.
So I'm just saying, so at least they're doing that right now because they don't have to agree to bus open enrolled children.
Considering the funding you get, though, it would be it wouldn't make much sense for a school district to turn that down. I mean, you sure,
Since there's a drop there already, and if
Right.
there's room on the bus, you get not a lot of aid on busing, but the marginal cost is literally zero.
I mean, you get funding on the students coming to the district, so it wouldn't make much sense to reject that.
Cassie, can you go to the map again, please, the final one that showed the detail? Yeah. So now, which properties did you say are in the Marathon School District?
It'd be directly south of our property, and then north, maybe a half mile down the road.
All the way to all the way to Woodland.
just before Woodland. So if you go to that
Yeah, if you go
picture
down
there.
just a little bit, you'll see the north, oh, up,
Yes.
sorry, yeah.
Okay. And so because, Bob, this is north of you, would they be main within our district?
I believe in looking at your property tax bill, your town is Stettin, correct? Stettin. I feel like Gene Rayburn right now. Cool.
He had better
You're doing a
times.
nice job.
So it would be Stettin,
Yeah.
which we already have capacity issues there,
Hoping to add on.
hoping to add on. And I guess I know it's about money, but it's not about money, right?
Absolutely. Right.
We're in the business of educating students, and our customers are essentially parents. I just have, sometimes you need to do the right thing, versus doing what appears to just be the standard thing. That's where my head is at. And when I look at this, I don't see a break. That was my concern, right, is when we were gonna break contiguous boundaries and things of that nature. And especially in this day and age, the convenience factors that you mentioned, I don't think should fall on deaf ears, because I think we all know people, especially today, right, that are in those situations. And as much as we have to consider the financial impact, there's also a human side to this, and there's a child side of this, most importantly. So I guess I'm talking out loud. I'm really challenged with this particular one.
Well, that's why I said I hate these things, for that same reason, because I feel all the same things you feel, but then I also think about, this is a decision forever for the Wausau School District and Wausau taxpayers forever, for a short period of time, and the students aren't even they're not actually impacted by it yet. You're making plans this far ahead, you're probably gonna be there in a couple years, but I don't know, maybe you won't be there in 3 years, but yet that still stays a marathon property. And that's why I said I wish there was some way to work together with the district to try to make some sort of swap so that, some of these weird configurations could be figured out in a way that would even things out, but we could do it in a way that we could tell the taxpayers, we haven't hurt you at all, we've made an even change.
No, I understand that too, and I agree with you, but if you open enroll your students your children down the road, and it's accepted, they're accepted within Marathon, our financial impact is still there.
If they open and roll, correct.
Yeah.
But not if they detach.
Right, we're hurt.
Yeah.
It's a bigger
Immediate,
impact for our
right.
taxpayers if we just detach it to Marathon, because we no longer get to include that property.
Right.
Any other person, kids who ever lived there, ever,
And it's
forever.
for
would be
14
Marathon.
years versus forever.
Just out of curiosity, what is our school bus route going to do coming in here? Because it sounds like from what you said, that every house on the road is going to Marathon. So does that mean that we're bringing in a bus route to come in to pick up one student?
I'm not going to say I know every one of our routes, but if you zoom up or scroll up, our district is far more irregular shaped than near the Banky's house. If you look at Little Chicago, for example, or if you look, that whole western side of our district is unusual for probably the reasons you pointed out before. Back in the day, they said, hey, which district you want to be in? And some people picked this one, some picked this one. So, we'll build a route. We don't have to build it yet because their kids aren't in school, but we'll build a route that accesses every one of those nooks and crannies up by Little Chicago. It gets probably pretty confusing. You probably see a couple Athens school buses driving around up there.
And there are Wausau students north of there.
And it's about precedence too. Once, if we allow this, how many more people are gonna come with the same story? Because it's tough when you live out in the country. And when you find something that works, it's a big deal.
I don't want to keep beating on the same issue, but because we have lots of, I know we don't have lots of time to make our decision today, we have to make it in February, but because we have years of planning here, is there some way for us to work with Marathon to say, I mean, do we know if anybody applied from Merit to Marathon to try to join Wausau, that we could somehow try to make this work?
I mean, we
Not
aren't
today,
aware
but-
of anybody who has. Do you have?
Since I've been here, this is the third case I've been made aware of, and every one of them is leaving Wausau going to Marathon. So,
Because I know there's been times we've had requests for, to come into the Wausau School District open enroll, like to South Mountain, that we've had to turn down, frankly, because of overcrowding from Marathon. But they weren't requests to join the property, they were just requests to attend the school, to open enroll.
correct. You would have seen every official request to detach here at the board level.
Either way,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments for either administration or for the Bankies? Okay. All right. So with that, we're gonna move to a motion. The motion, or once we have a first and a second, the board will vote by ballot. And Ms. Peck tabulate the results at that point, so. Okay, then, and this will simply be a yes or no, but we need the first and the second. So I'm going to seek a motion to grant the transfer of the territory described in the petition.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. So your vote in the affirmative would be to, in yes, would be to grant the Bankies' request, and a vote no would deny that request and keep the land within the district. Okay, and we have the results, and after tallying the results, that motion passes. So you are granted that motion to have your land transferred to the Marathon District. Congratulations.
And I understand that that'll take place July 1, I believe,
I'm not sure about that.
if, as I read through. So frankly, I'm not listening, sorry. I'm not sure what happens now.
We'll figure it
We
out.
will have to figure out the process, and we'll be in communication. Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully we'll bus them to the right one, too.
Yeah.
Okay, and with that, I will seek a motion to adjourn.
So move. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you for your time.
Motion carries.
I hope we don't get any of these at a state level.
This is the first time we've done this? That doesn't happen very often.
Everything out in the country.